And hello, hello. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. Thank you for tuning in on our one of our special Chalk Talk shows. You guys have been asking me, Kim, can we have more shows? Can you put out more live content? And so I'm doing that. So thank you for tuning in today for one of our special editions of Chalk Talk. I'm super excited to have you with us. Special guest today is going to be Gretchen Sheirr. She is the president of business operations for the Houston Rockets. And so I'm super excited that Gretchen is going to be a part of today's show. As we get started, I've got to always tell you that we have people that support this show. We have sponsors that help us do what we do. And so we appreciate them. And we ask that you will continue to support the sponsors since they help us give you what you like, some great conversation about sports and other things that matter. You've seen them on this show a lot. You've heard me talk a lot about Jinka. You've heard me talk a lot about Kim and LJ and just the great product that Jinka is. Great for information. You know that you can get it online, but you can also get it if you are in Houston and soon all over Texas. If you're in the greater Houston area, Southeast Texas, you can find it at HEB, and here is where you can find it.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department of Probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at a Jinka sale. Look at that. Jinka.
And that, of course, is our favorite little CEO, Ray Mercy. So that is what we want you to know about Jinka. We also have some other people that we want you to be mindful of. We have a skincare company, and of course, you know how we feel about Kimmy Treats. Stephanie Serlin is the esthetician, the owner of that company. So if you're looking for some great skincare products and some great work for your skin, we ask you to check out Soham Skin. They're in Edo on the east side of downtown Houston. And Kimmy Treats, check it out online, or you can pick it up at Vegans at Sunshine's Vegan Deli. Okay, listen, we're going to talk to Gretchen shortly. She'll be joining us momentarily. But until we do, it is Thursday. The Houston Texans are, 0-1. Now, of course, Sunday's game ended in a tie. This week, they're on to Denver. They play the Denver Broncos in Denver Sunday afternoon at 3:15. So we talked a little bit about last week's game earlier this week, but let's look forward to what they're going to do in Denver. Had a chance to catch up with head coach Lovie Smith, and he answered a question that many people have about the altitude, right? We know that Denver is a different altitude. If you visited there, you have to kind of get your bearings. He was asked, what do you have to do, coach? Are you going to have to prepare differently for this weekend? Here's what he said.
Is it an issue out there? Altitude? We're going to Colorado, then play the Broncos. A lot of people talk about if that changed. We played out there a few times, and no. I mean, this is what we ask guys to do each week. Get as much rest as possible, hydrate as much as you can, just the recovery that you normally go through.
Love you, do expect.
So listen, he says you got to prepare like you always do. And I guess the worst thing you could do, in the beginning of that, he was actually kind of joking with those of us in the media room. So, you know, they've got to do what they do. And he says you got to hydrate and get your rest. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. He also talked a little bit about Dameon Pierce. You know, he said that it was clear that Dameon Pierce, who was the starting running back, didn't get a lot of touches on Sunday after the game. And then again on Monday, he said, listen, we got to get our running back more touches. A lot of it has to do with situations and where we are in the ball game. But he reiterated that this week and said that they definitely do have to get more touches for Dameon Pierce. Here's Lovie talking about Dameon.
More touches. So how, without, of course, giving the Broncos our total game plan, That's what we need to do. You look at the reps. That's why part of the evaluation is looking at those things too. You can get in a game and situations kind of dictate. You may have to lean a little bit, go in one direction that after you analyze it more, you wish you hadn't. But I just know this week we're going to try to get in more touch.
That was head coach Lovie Smith talking about Dameon Pierce. And for all of you who've been inboxing me and texting me and complaining, he is going to try to get his starting running back more touches. And now I'm excited to invite to the show for her Chalk Talk debut, Gretchen Sheirr. She is the president of business operations for the Houston Rockets. She's also a founding member of WISE, which is really where I got a chance to first kind of meet Gretchen. And so I want to invite her, say, first of all, thank you. I know it's a busy time of year. Welcome to Chalk Talk.
Hi, that was fun. Like, welcome for the first time. So
that means you're coming back. Yeah,
I know, right? Like, set the stage. So, yeah, pot committed now. Yeah.
So listen, I know that this is it's always a busy time in terms of what you do, but we got the notice about Media Day coming up in like a week and a half, and it's really here.
That always means it's real. When you get the Media Day, you're like, oh, I guess.
Wait a minute, it's a week from Monday or Tuesday, Media Day. Before we talk about the Rockets, I want to talk a little bit about you, right? You have been with the Rockets organization. This is going to your 22nd year. Is that right?
20. I know. I told someone
when you were 12. 12 is the number. I started,
yes. I was going to say 5, but 12 works. 12 works also. I'll take 12. Yeah.
So you started. Can you talk a little bit about just your journey? Because when I was looking back over your kind of bio, you started as an account executive and kind of, so about really all parts of the business operations.
That is the blessing and the curse of when you come up, as long as I have and as many different capacities through the years. But yeah, I started about a year after college. I had done a stint with a minor league team doing sort of some marketing operations out of college. I was a diver at LSU, so I didn't have like any internships or any sort of career prep leading into that. Like, my job was to be an athlete. And so when I finished, I got the job. I thought working in sports would be cool. I thought it would be something that I might enjoy and feel passionate about, but I did not want to go into ticket sales. So that's how I took the first marketing job with a minor league team, as opposed to a ticket sales job with maybe a more established brand. And that team folded, ceased front office operations after a year. And then I took the ticket sales job, right? So I tell people all the time, like, learning how to sell and getting close to the money, like early in your career. One, like, you're always selling something, right? Whether you're a broadcaster or a member of the media or in accounting, like, you always are selling your idea, yourself, whatever that is. And so, so I did it so it would be a good skill. Turned out I was relatively good at it. And at the time that I joined the Rockets, my first season was that rough season when Steve Francis was hurt. And prior to maybe the last 2 seasons, the longest losing streaks we had at the time was my first season. And that led to the drafting of Yao Ming. And then the year after that, we opened Toyota Center. So our franchise was changing pretty significantly at the time that I started. So a lot of different positions and opportunities were coming available because we were going to operate the building. We weren't going to be a tenant. And I just, I was performing well. And so I got a good amount of opportunities relatively early in my career to advance. And then you blink and it's 22 years later and you're the team president. So that's the short story.
Was that ever the goal? I mean, what was it when you said, I'm going to go into sports, I'm going to do this? What did you think where do you think you end up?
Yeah, that's a great question. One, I didn't think I would end up. Like, I needed a job. A friend of mine who had been a diver at A&M that I had gone to high school with, was working in the event marketing department at Compact Center. And she was a year above me and she really liked it. And I just remember seeing her saying that she liked her job and she liked going to work every day. So I was like, maybe I'll try that. So early on, I just wanted a job to pay my bills and be able to pay for my my own apartment. And then once I started to figure out that there could be a real career path, I started to think a little bit more about how serious could this get. I'm super passionate about college sports and Olympic sports. So early in my career, I thought that I would kind of pivot over into maybe more of the Olympic sports or the college realm. And things were just going well here, and I kept getting opportunities, and I was doing my job. And next thing you knew, opportunities advanced. It probably wasn't until maybe like 7 or 8 years ago that I really got to a stage where I started thinking more about myself and my own career and what that meant, where I really started to feel confident that the opportunity to be a team president was real and that I could actually do it.
We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get my dog and take care of a couple sponsors, and then we're going to come right back. Hang on, Gretchen. Don't go anywhere. All right, Angel sometimes likes to be a part of the show, and I guess today is one of those days. She heard you were here and she wanted to join. So this is Angel. She's the little mascot for Chalk Talk. When, in recent years, the landscape has changed a little bit for women, right? There are more women, especially in sports, but in roles of leadership. Can you talk about just the shift, and if you think there's going to be more of that on an executive level?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I get asked this question, obviously, a good amount, rightfully so. And I tell all the time, like when I was coming up in Houston in this business, Pam Gardner was the president of the Astros, yes. Right? And so it was even more rare, 15 years ago when I was, 15, 20 years ago when I was starting. So there was never being so fortunate to be in a city where you had a female that was leading a team. It never felt that crazy or out of reach or that difficult. I mean, obviously it was difficult, right? But it felt like something that was attainable because there was someone down the street that was doing it. But I tell people all the time, it's really hard to become a female president of a team if you're not a general counsel of a team, if you're not the head of revenue, if you're not the head of business operations, if you're not the senior VP. And so really making sure that you're building a bench just like you would in any company or any team or any sport of who's going to be the next person that can rise up. You can't have an entry-level employee, move into the role of team president without having development along the way. And so I think that, the more attention that is paid, the more times people think about ensuring that whenever you're hiring for position, you're making sure to take the time to have a full, diverse slate of candidates that you're looking at before you make the decision versus, the first referral that you get because you have to fill a job really quickly, and making sure that you're doing, a full inclusive recruiting opportunity. And then as well, make sure that we're providing leadership opportunities and growth opportunities for our young staff to be able to be in the position so that when the next step is available, they feel confident and ready to take that.
So as team president, and often, those of us who work in sports know that the general manager is on the player side, the on the court stuff. And then there's a whole other part of the organization, like in any other business, right, that does really everything else. Can you talk really a little bit about that for people who don't understand what kind of roles and responsibilities you have as president?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Rafael is obviously the general manager. And so everything that has to do with a player or a coach and the performance that happens and the product that's delivered by the guys that are on the court is his responsibility. So from the trainers to nutrition to the coaches to to decisions on trades and who to sign and player development and the G League and that area rolls up into him. Everything else that happens on the business side is under my purview. And so I'm really fortunate because he worked on the business side. So, when we need things and we need to collaborate and we need to compromise on certain things, that it's very, very helpful having someone that understands the business side on that side of the business. But I mean, I oversee all of our accounting, our finance, our HR, our legal, all the shared services that you would have in a company, the sales and marketing and activations of all of our live events, from the concerts to Rockets games. Obviously, Rockets games are a little bit more intensive on the sales and marketing side. The concerts that is a big part of it, but we book it and we work with concert promoters who do a bit more of the selling, because the ticketing is theirs, not ours.
So, Gretchen, I don't know if, I'm sure you've been asked this before, but what's the most challenging part about what you do in your role?
Yeah.
Pick one.
Day, right? Which day? Look, the most challenging part is just, recognizing what you can control and what you can't control. Obviously, when you work on the business side, when you are in the playoffs and competing for a championship, it's just a little bit easier. And so, making sure that we are delivering a quality product and entertainment experience that is second to none, that we are telling the stories of growth and development of these young players who, are very, very young, but are reaching this life dream on this, goal and mission that they have to become the best athletes in the world, making sure that we're doing that justice, right? And that our fans are committed and bought in and excited about the journey. And sometimes when you're in this chapter, that can be a frustrating process for fans. And we feel like, and part of my job is to make sure that it's a fun, enthusiastic, and engaging process for our fans. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job with that over the last couple of years. And it also allows us to be really flexible, right? We get to tell different stories. We get to try new promotions. We get to do a game within a game, normally that you can't always do when you're in the Western Conference Finals. Like, there's no other game within the game, right? Like that
right.
Game is
That's it.
That game is win or lose or go home. Like, that is the game. And when when you have a full regular season where you get to tell stories about, young draft picks and their journey to become great, it's really exciting for the business staff because they have more creative flexibility and more involvement in the process.
Talking with Gretchen Sheirr, the president of business operations for the Houston Rockets. It's her Chalk Talk debut. I have to kind of keep reminding her of that. Gretchen, you've been with the team, like you said, some of the great days, those pushes to try to get toward a championship, and now in this total rebuild mode. So can you talk about how you do those things, make it exciting, and try to probably keep your staff also really motivated about going through these lean times, because those of us who cover the team and see these young guys playing are like, they're talented. You've got some stars. But when you look at just the wins and losses, which a lot of fans do, especially in a market like Houston, I'm a Houstonian, so I can say that. How do you balance that in terms of being able to keep your team kind of revved up, saying, hey, this is a process and we still got to deliver this, find this excitement?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, the parts of, again, like it is a little, everything tastes better when you're winning. The lines are shorter, the beer's colder, right? Like the tickets randomly just suddenly aren't as expensive, right? Because it's a high, right? When you're winning, like people are in a high. It's easy to capture that momentum. The casual fan notices that a lot more. The hardcore fans, right, know the process and the development and this journey that we're in. But, we need the entire community to be bought in to where we're going. And so our team knows that it's going to be harder. Our fans are really smart. So it's really important to me. It's important to the Fertittas. It's important to Rafael that we are truthful and transparent and honest about what this process is. So that's why when you hear us talk about the growth and the development of the players versus how many games we've won or lost, it's really telling the story of saying, this is what we want you to look for. And this is the development that we want to see in Jalen. This is the difference that we're looking for in Jabari. Here's what Alpi did overseas, this summer. And this is why we're excited to see that, because it is going to be a process and it's not going to be overnight. And we have phenomenal fans that that are really excited about it. And our job is to make sure that the games are just as fun as, when you're competing, for those long runs as it is when you're not. And so we've brought in a bunch of new theme nights. We've done and tried different ideas last year. We'll enhance on those this year, and hopefully it'll be a great time for all.
So speaking of this year, and you're right, one of the things that I think is interesting is, how some of us in the media can be. We want to get you to answer a question the way we want you to. And I heard my colleagues trying to get Rafael and Steven to put a number, right? Like, what does improvement mean? And they both, and even Tillman, they really stayed away from that, and we just talked about growth. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to win games, right? But can you talk about just some of the excitement around the youth you guys have? And before you say it, I'm going to say this. I've covered the league for almost 30 years. I started when I was 5. Yeah. And this is really one of the best group of players. I covered Akeem, I covered the championship teams, and it was different back then. All those guys were great. But in this kind of new era, these young guys on the Rockets team, I don't know how you guys kind of got so lucky, but they all are pretty high character guys, and they play really hard, even when they knew the chances of going beyond the regular season just didn't exist for them the past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting, like, they are starting their journey, right? So earlier I talked about, I took a job in ticket sales, hopefully to get that opportunity. They're drafted, they're playing for the first or second time, they're fighting for playing time, they're fighting for that, that first step and what they hope to be a very long and meaningful career. And when you do that, sometimes it's competitive, right? And this group is really, really well balanced, and just like each other, and they have great chemistry. And I know that they talked about it earlier when there was some media availability of how many of the guys are, stayed in Houston and have come to Houston, have been working out and training together over the summer. And they're just nice and they're really fun. And I was talking about that the other day. I was like, this is the nicest, most enthusiastic group that, we've had wonderful, great veteran players, but there's someone, you've done something for a long time, right? You've covered this team for a long time. When people walk into these rooms and they're young and they're enthusiastic and they're going to media day for the first time and they've never done it, you can't help but feel that enthusiasm. We feed off of that from the staff. We think our fans are feeding off of that because they're just excited to be here and they're ready to show the world what they're made of.
So I told Gretchen I wouldn't keep her too long, and I'm going to keep to that. But I do want to ask you this. One of my viewers, he is our legal expert. He's an attorney. I have him on often when I have legal things. His question is, what are some of the legal challenges a long-established franchise like the Rockets are concerned about in the future? Spoken like an attorney, right?
And like an attorney, I know, and putting me on the spot. Like, everybody likes to answer legal questions live. Like, what could possibly go wrong, Charles? No, I mean, look, one of the things that we are that we are doing, we've done, we did a competition called Clutch City Beats over the summer. We're really excited to roll that out, where we had a competition where local artists and creators of music and producers could produce unique content that can be used for the Rockets in game. So when you do a prompt for a Let's Go Rockets, or maybe it's something that's used on the dance cam, right? Where it's the IP that, the team helped create and that we help control is helpful, because, music and some of those rules with social media and how that has taken on and what rights you do and don't have to use that as a team and as a business entity has certainly changed over the years. So how do you continue to deliver really engaging content to your fans, but do it in a way that is legal, right? And that you can control, that doesn't have somebody else's IP in the background. So.
And the last thing I will ask you is about WISE. I know that you are a founding member. Can you talk about what the organization is and what when you got involved at the beginning, what you hoped it would be and where you see it going?
Yeah, so WISE was actually founded over 25 years ago in the 90s by a group of women in New York. And over the time, they had developed other chapters in other cities. And we had some women that had moved to Houston that were in WISE chapters in other cities. And when they got to Houston, and we have so many great sports and events and entertainment properties, and we're obviously a huge city. They were very, very surprised that we didn't have a WISE chapter. And so they asked myself and a couple of others of the leading executive women in Houston to become founding members to get a charter chapter here in Houston. So in 2016, 2017, we launched WISE, and we had kind of like a pre-launch party, and we had over 200 women in the sports and events industry show up for this. And it was just, at that moment, we knew it was something that we had to move forward with, because to provide that safe space and be a leading resource for people that are going through challenges. I mean, look, everyone has challenges in their jobs and in their careers, and everybody has long nights and projects that they have to work on. But when you work in a sports entertainment industry and you put on a live event, you can't, it's very difficult to do that job remotely. You have to be there, right? Which means a lot of nights, a lot of weekends, a lot of holidays. That's challenging for everybody. It's particularly challenging for women as they advance in their life, in their career, in their families. And so to make sure that we have this safe space to be each other's confidants and supporters, so that when I'm in a room and somebody asks me if I know someone who's ready for X, Y, and Z, I'm thinking about the next generation of women to make sure that they get the same opportunities that I did.
Gretchen Sheirr, I appreciate it. I know we've talked about getting together for a while. You'll have to come back. See, we're harmless here, right?
I know, we're harmless. And we'll have to get together when not running. Men run together. They run into each other at the golf course. We run into each other when we get our eyebrows done. So, yeah.
Exactly. Gretchen, I appreciate it. Thanks again. I will see you, I guess, on Media Day in about a week.
I will, yes, week from Monday.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon. That is Gretchen Sheirr. She is the president of team operations for the Houston Rockets. I appreciate her being a part of today's show. Take a quick little break and come back and finish up with some Texans. We're going to talk about one of our favorite products, and it's Jinka.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department of Probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at a lot of Jinka sale. Look at that. Jinka.
Hello. If you're just tuning in, you'll have to make sure you go back and watch the entire show on our YouTube channel, and make sure that you hear the interview with Gretchen Sheirr. She's the team president of business operations for the Houston Rockets. She's also a founding member of an organization called WISE. So, this is a busy time of year for people in sports, especially if you cover it in a town like Houston, a city like Houston, where you have professional basketball and baseball, and your baseball team is really good, right? Because they're playing now and headed for the postseason. Basketball is about to get started. I mean, Media Day is a week from Monday. And of course, football is underway. It's just getting cranked up. So it's a super busy time. And I wanted to get her before the season started. So I appreciate her making the time to be a part of today's show. And for Tracy, the VP of Communications at the Rockets, for organizing it for us. So before she came on, we were talking a little bit about the Texans, and we'll wrap up talking about the Texans today. Thank you for that, Charles. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. Hey, my cousin Russell, thanks for tuning in, Russell. It's great to see you. So one of the things that we talked about with the Houston Texans as they get ready to go into week 2, right? Their second game of the season, and hopefully all of the armchair quarterbacks who were just so put out by the fact that Lovie Smith decided to go for the tie. I thought it was the right move. I understood it. But anyway, moving on to Denver. We got a chance to visit with Davis Mills after practice on yesterday, and he talked about some things that he would like to continue to see in areas where he can improve from week 1, week 2, as he continues to grow as an NFL quarterback. Here's Davis Mills.
Get through my reads, be ready to step up in the pocket, and maybe use my legs a little bit to help out the offensive line and open some guys up on the defense. I mean, you saw Monday night when Geno Smith stepped up in the pocket, some big things happened when the defense collapsed on him, like when he was a run threat. So add some stuff like that. So I did that, last season, and was capable of doing that. But other than that, just stay efficient going through my stuff and letting our offense do its job as a whole, because we feel like when everybody's clicking on the same page, straining for a finish, then we can play against anybody.
Well, they're going to have to play against anybody because this week they're going to play Denver. They're going to play Denver at home. It's going to be loud. Whether altitude is an issue or not, they will be in the Mile High City. And Denver is coming off a loss. They are going to want to win. It's their home opener. Here's Pep Hamilton, the offensive coordinator, talking about playing in Denver this weekend.
Yeah, I think it'll be a different challenge though for us this week. In Denver at a stadium that's going to be extremely, I guess, loud, and the fans are going to be excited. It's their home opener, so we'll see. But we do expect all of our guys to continue to just gel as a unit. When you look at our unit overall, we have quite a few young players that are still accumulating reps as players in this league, but just gaining their traction as professional football players. And you can't teach experience, so we hope that some of the scars that you accumulate along the way are reminders to doing the things that you got to do to be successful in this league.
Speaking of offense, one of the things I want to share with you is that Justin Britt was not at practice yesterday for personal reasons. He was not at practice today for personal reasons. And one of the first things Pep said to us when he came in the media room is, that Coach Smith would talk more about Justin tomorrow. So he wasn't taking any questions about Justin Britt. I don't know what's going on with Justin Britt, but you got to wonder who's going to be the starting center this weekend. So we'll see if that's some news that we'll find out tomorrow when we go over for our Friday visit with Coach Levy. And this is Pep talking really more about week 2 and things that they need to do.
Get more first downs. We need more opportunities to just run more plays in general. And so for us, we want to start faster. We want to finish fast as well. We want to finish the way that we always talk about finishing. That's with the ball in hand and finish with a victory formation, but that didn't happen. But we started that game, we went 3 and out, missed opportunities on third down for whatever reason, and then that affects just the overall volume of runs and plays that you'll run over the course of a game.
That's Pep Hamilton. And for all of you who are wondering, Pep Hamilton is a HBCU grad. He went to Howard. It's like to throw that in sometime. He's been around the league a long time. He's got a lot of football experience and offensive experience, and has been credited with really the development of players like Andrew Luck. He worked with Justin Hebert. So if there's somebody who can handle and get the best out of Davis Mills, I think it's Pep Hamilton. We're just waiting to see, right? That's right. Erica says HBCU. We're waiting to see what Davis Mills has. And thank you very much, Jessica. I'm glad you were able to join. And listen, I appreciate all of you guys jumping in on this special edition of Chalk Talk. We're on every Tuesday at 1 p.m. I've changed the time. I'm trying to find that sweet spot. But I'm also looking to do some special shows throughout the week, maybe an extra day. And when I do, I'll tell you and I'll let you know as much in advance as I can. But I appreciate you being here and being a part of today's show. As always, we have to thank the people that make the show possible. And we do that by letting you hear from our sponsors.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department, the probiotics, you can find Jenka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at a lot of Jinka soda. Look at that. Jinka.
And that's going to do it for us today for this special edition of Chalk Talk. The Houston Astros still have a 6-game lead over the New York Yankees for the best record in the American League. Their magic number is 7. What that means is any combination of the Astros wins and the A's the losses by the A's that comes up to 7 is when they will clinch the American League West. Speaking of the A's, they're in town to face the Astros for a 4-game series. I'll be at that game later this evening, so they could actually clinch sometime over the next few days. We shall see. In the meantime, remember, if you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you have not registered to vote, be sure to register to vote. You know, I never tell you who to vote for, but I will strongly encourage you to get registered. If you're already registered because you've been listening to Chalk Talk for years and you make sure that you're always registered, get somebody else registered and then figure out what makes sense for you and your family. Learn the policies and the people and vote your interests. That's going to do it for me for today and for Angel. Make it a great, great day. Have a great rest of your week. Follow me on all the platforms, Kim Y. Davis or Kim Y. Davis Media, and I'll see you next Tuesday, if not sooner, on Chalk Talk.